Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. We are excited to have one of our partners with us from Xpertdoc, Anthony Mansour. He will be presenting on Digitize your documents processes in Dynamics 365 with document automation. And as a reminder, we are recording this webinar and we will post it to our on-demand webinar library for you to review again and share with anyone. And we encourage you to ask questions during our presentation. So please feel free to type them into the questions box and we will answer them at the end of our session. So now I'm going to turn it over to Anthony to kick off our presentation.
Thank you very much, Angie. Well, I'm glad to be here. I think what you'll be seeing today will be very exciting. I'm quite sure of that, actually. What we're doing is we're going to do a small PowerPoint presentation that puts us a bit in the scenario of things. A simple introduction was done. I'm going to talk about ExpertDoc, but some of the background behind that, and especially a couple of use cases. And then we'll jump right to the heart of it, which is a demo. There's 5 little demos from a user experience. And I think with that, it'll give you a very, very good idea how this could be applicable and how this could benefit you immediately. And question answers, don't be shy to bring them up as you feel fit, all right? So first of all, ExpertDoc's been around for 20 years. We're a Microsoft Gold partner. And well, there you are. So that's this short story here. Something very, very interesting. Before this whole pandemic crisis around the world, companies were giving only 15% priority of digitizing, doing digital transformation. So it was not a very high priority for most companies. Just a small portion, which is 15%, were actually giving a priority towards digitizing their entire processes. Since pandemic, what Forrester has predicted was actually quite true. This is what we have seen. Is people working from home, and they were using, when they were in the office, it was very simple, taking output from their CRM, but they were taking information from SharePoints, FTP, different file sources, directories here and there, and cut and pasting information together, which meant PDF file formats, Word documents, e-publish formats, images, and it was literally a manual process. And because people were working from home, a lot of this was not really readily accessible. And so what happened is a lot of companies were giving high priority during the pandemic to finish their digitization process and to jump into it. So it was fine to implement a CRM, do all this fancy business process re-engineering, designing, having all consultants come in, Novia, etc. But at the end is customers were stuck with the documents that were generating from their CRM and were not able to go on and automate the rest of it. It was a manual process. Well, here you'll see in a few moments, a couple clicks, and all that gets resolved immediately. Really, really simply. So it's very easy to link up Dynamics, but with all the other features, if you like, that goes around that, from Power Automate to SharePoints, FTP sites, Teams, etc. We say that the solution is flexible, powerful, and scalable. We do have customers who have just a few users generating maybe 200 documents per year. And on the other extreme side, we have multinational corporations who have 5,000 users generating millions of documents per year. And of course, there's everything in between all that. And the customers are around the world. We do support customers globally, including Europe, throughout North America, and throughout Asia, very, very much so. Some of the industries that we're strong in, insurance, they started off 20 years ago there. We're still very strong there. We work with different governments at different levels worldwide. A lot of institutions, educational institutions, universities, big banks, etc. And that's not a whole list. There's a whole lot more. So if there's something you're looking for specifically, I'm sure we have a customer in that area. You'll see in a few minutes, from a user point of view, Very, very simple. 1, 2, or 3 clicks, they can generate complex documents. That means taking data from multiple entities within CRM, taking data from outside of CRM, such as SharePoints, FTP, etc., and merge all that together and even do pseudo relations between data within CRM and data that's not in CRM. You can take complex business rules and apply it. Certain clauses, certain needs to be applied depending on the industry, depending on the geography. There's all kinds of rules that need to change, including multi-language. Someone could be in Germany and generate documents in Chinese and not speak Chinese, as an example. But all that could be done simply with little to no IT support. Really, really simple. Of course, we have a connector with Dynamics, but we do have a direct connector with Sugar, with Salesforce. We can work through Power Platform, and we can work through API to connect to any other type of database, CRM, or even ERPs. This does not require days and days of setup or even hours of setup, but basically out of the box, this can work almost instantaneously. Literally almost, I'm talking about a few minutes. And like I said, if it's something that I can do, literally anyone else can do this. It's really, really that simple. If we talk about a customer journey, you know, we start interacting with customers, usually in the prospecting, marketing side. Then we eventually work out to a proposal, some sort of quote. There's orders and order fulfillment, the onboarding, all the way down to the end, perhaps even doing customer surveys. Well, at every feature, or every step along the way, there's always documents that's needed. There's always some kind of document output that we need to get from our CRM. And that's, of course, this is where this could be applicable. What are some of the main challenges? Of course, people want things personalized, relevant, quick, simple. And again, the biggest task that we see is customers who are literally editing information coming from their CRM with data that's not in CRM and putting this together to create a seamless document that they can send out. So essentially is the person is doing more administrative work than actually interacting with real customers. So they're doing literally administration of editing information together. Where could this be used? Of course, anywhere along the way, but from sales, you know, it gives you quotes, leases, agreements, insurance. Of course, you could see how by jurisdictions, a lot of clauses have to change instantaneously across different jurisdictions. In accounting, reports, graphs that goes with that. Of course, multi-language could be very important if you're dealing internationally. There's calculations that need to be done. Barcodes, QR codes can be generated. Images can be created and imported from elsewhere, again, from within CRM or else outside of CRM. And there's a lot of conditions that need to change based on all kinds of criteria. This is some real output generated from actual customers. You'll see here you got different kind of tables. This is an investment portfolio. It tells you for that particular person, they got some kind of a profile. Here we have images that are imported from elsewhere. Text is generated again from elsewhere too. Again, there are graphs that could be generated too here. And here too, you see some pie charts. So again, all this could be generated very, very simply. And again, from the user point of view, very simple. And from the administrator point of view who creates templates, it's just as equally simple. Some of the customers. Okay, this is a very cool example. Husky operates in 100 different countries. They use 10 different languages, and they generate about 36,000 documents per year. And each document is about 70 to 80 pages long. This is very, very long-winded process. Again, this manual editing of taking data from multiple sources. Someone was actually on their laptop, putting this together to try and make a seamless document. And the other problem was that each country was doing its own thing. So the branding was varied, based all over the place. It was all over the world. There's all kinds of different ways of presenting things. There was no consistency. Well, now in one single template that's deployed, all 10 languages is in there. So you don't have 10 different templates, one per language. It's all 10 languages in a single docx file, literally. And again, someone could be in the US, clicking away, it generates a document in German for the German market. And all of a sudden they need to send out to China. It generates in Chinese, and you don't need to speak the language. Really, really cool. Of course, there was an immediate productivity gain on this. This is probably my favorite example. Group health is a health insurance plan for employees. So when a new employee comes on board to a company, Group Health sends them an email with a fillable PDF file. Well, the PDF file was, well, it's a standard PDF file. However, it was about 12 pages long and had a lot of fine print. And depending, you had to read all the fine print in detail to see what options are available to you on the plan and what options are not available to you on the plan. So if you were married, you were single, you were at a certain age, there's all kinds of options available and not available. We had to read all the fine print. It was complicated. So what happened is that employees were not reading all the fine print. They're just taking the basic coverage and moving on from there. Group Health implemented our smart form, which we'll see in just literally a minute here. Smart form is a dynamic web-based form. And what it does is the form changes based on how you're responding to the form. So based on a certain questions, a few questions that the employee had to answer, then the form would change and would say, the following options are available to you. Do you want them, yes or no? And it was, let's say, 3, 4 things that would show up. The person simply had to do click, 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 and they would basically sign up for those options on the insurance plan. And because of that, and it was so simple, Group Health was able to sell 5,000% more of options on their insurance plan. And of course, it reduced calls to their call center. The information that was entered was literally updated right in Dynamics itself, and you'll see that literally right here. Okay, so I'm going to go straight to a demo. Let me see here. Here we are. Cool. So I'm in Dynamics. I think everyone could see that. I'm in my quote entity here in Dynamics. I'm going to take one quote here. Let's take this one right here. Cool. And we're looking at line items. So here I have 4 items I'm trying to quote for this particular customer of ours. If you look on top, we've added 2 little buttons, if you'd like, as part of our footprint. So if we look at smart flows, we see a bunch of flows. These flows are what my administrator gave me access to. So I can run any of these when I'm inside my quote entity. If I'm inside my accounts entity, my contacts entity, I have a different set of flows available to me. So right now I'm in my quotes entity and I have a set of flows. So I'm having a conversation. Let's pretend that I'm having a conversation with a customer of ours. We're trying to sell them something. And the person says, well, okay, what you're telling me sounds interesting. Can you send me an email, a summary of that? Let me look and see what I can do on that. So I say, okay, great. I'm going to send you a summary email. So I'm going to click this and I'm going to send a summary email. It's opening an execution panel so we can see what's happening in our demo. And what it's generating is generating a summary of that quote that we saw there. I'm going to close this up and it's going to create an email to that the end user will receive. In this case, that's me here again, and I'm waiting for a blessed email. Well, there we are. It's going to come in a moment, I guess. When there's we're the immersive email, of course. But when there's a demo, you have to add an extra 20 seconds to the, here's the email. Here we are. Oh, it's on the wrong page. Hang on, drag it over here. Voila. So here's the email that I received. The email itself is in a template. So if we want it to be in German or whatever it is, but anyway, it creates a it's based on a template. We put our summary together here. Here you see some images. The images in this case are on the FTP site. So it brought in the images. It formats it to fit in whatever we said it's supposed to fit. And there's the summary that the end user received. So now we go on with our story. And the customer says, okay, it sounds really good. Can you give me a formal quote now? We'll say, sure, let me send you a formal quote. So I'm going to generate a formal quote here. And what it's going to do, it's asking for user intervention. Now, if I'm generating a financial report, I want a start date, end date. I could do what I want. I can have drop-down menus. I can have checkboxes. I can do all kinds of fancy stuff. In this case, we have product brochures that are on an FTP site, and it's saying, do you want to include the product brochures in your quote? Sure, let me do that. We have standard term and conditions that we use not only on quotes, but in other documents. You want to include that in my quote? Sure, let me include that in there. It'll pick that up automatically. Although it's not in CRM, it's elsewhere, SharePoints, etc. We have a standard thank you letter that's part of our quote. Do I want to personalize and add something? Sure, let me write, this is a new paragraph. Helps when you type correctly. Here we are. And of course, it supports a rich text format. We can do this kind of fancy stuff, whatever. So, okay, so it does that. I'm going to click next. Now, what is going to happen is going to take data from CRM. It's going to take data from what I've asked to include, which is information off our CRM, out of CRM, and it's going to generate an email. So that email was generated. I should be getting an email in a moment. And something was created in notes. Now we said to create notes. We could have said store something in SharePoint at the same time. I can ask for a task. I can do anything fancy you want to do. In this case, we keep it simple as an example. And I'm waiting for, here's the email just came in. Cool. This again, email's a template. Here's the PDF file that was generated. Let's take a peek at it. Oh, it's on the wrong screen. I have to drag it over here. Cool, cool, cool. Page level. Okay, so here's the actual quote that was generated. Here's, so we have here, here's our paragraph we added. Here's some calculations, is, make the quote of today plus 30 days. It generated some kind of a fancy reference number based on whatever criteria we had set to put in there. This is all automatically configured, whoever created this flow. Again, you don't need technical assistance to do that. Here's the actual quote. Again, images are brought in from externally, from an FP site in this case. There's some logic. There is a discount line between subtotal and grand total. And the logic says in this case, if we're not offering a discount, don't show it for obvious reasons. The customer is going to ask us for a discount if we start putting 0% discount. In some cases, we don't want to show the unit price, so the table would not show it, but then the table wouldn't have a blank column. It would readjust the columns automatically. Then we said include product brochures. So here's the first product brochure. We had 4 products, remember? So here's the first product brochure. Here's the second product brochure, the third one, and the fourth one, and our terms and conditions. And if you look at the formatting, it looks pretty cool. It all looks like one seamless document. And it is. From the end user point of view, it certainly is. That was not the case the way they're stored. So the files here are in the PDF format, and the format had to be changed so you have the same look and feel throughout. So I'm going to close this and this, and I'm going to close this one here too. Just to make a quick summary, but what does generate information, so which flows is most popular, what time of day, who's running it, what's the status of them, maybe we're waiting for an external event, maybe there's an error because something happened, I don't know, but it'll just show you a status. That's a possibility. So then the customer says, okay, I want to buy your stuff. So we say, great, you need to sign off on it. So I'm going to generate a quote that I'm going to send for e-signature. He needs to sign off, he or she needs to sign off on the other end. And in this case, we're using Docusign. We can connect through Docusign. We can connect through Adobe Sign, OneSpan, and Certify. So now it's waiting for an external event. So the reality is the seller, in my case, a seller trying to sell something to the other side, and obviously they're not going to be signing on the spot. They might be signing 3 months later. Well, I'm not going to wait here for 3 months. This will resume by itself automatically in the next step that we said to do based on the whatever is configured in here. So the email that I receive is this. This is the email I received from Docusign. I'm going to open up that document from Docusign. Okay, I'm going to say yes here, click here, continue here. So here's my Docusign document, and I'm going to say, yeah, let's buy this thing. I'm going to sign off on it, click, finish. No, thank you. Cool, we're done with Docusign. There it is, and Docusign sends things back, and here we are. It's going to resume by where it's left off. Now, again, this might be 2 weeks later, 3 months later, whatever you said to do. And we can even do an alert that if no one signed within 2 weeks, create a task or send me an email, or as soon as it comes in, send an email to my manager. You can do whatever you can think of doing. In this case, we said create something in notes. So it's in notes. So there's flow resumed and created something in notes. So that's my 3 little scenarios here. And if I go into here, cool. So if I look into my notes and my summary, here it is. Here's the quote that we just signed. So this is was a final and signed. Here we are. Okay. So we had said to do that. We could create a task at the same time. Could do whatever you think of doing. Okay, cool. Let's go to another where we're going to go to. Let's go to the accounts entity. Okay. In the accounts entity, I'm going to take this one here. Consulto, whatever, pharmaceutical, sounds pretty fancy. I don't know what that is. Oh, this is my demo environment. They keep playing with my things inside. Okay, so here we have a phone number, we have an address, and what we're going to do is we're going to use what we call our smart form. Now, this is very similar or identical to what Group Health was doing, sending out a dynamic web-based form that can change. So in this case, it's a simple example. In this specific one, next one's a little more complex. But we have a phone number, we have an address. So you see industrial is a street, it's got Montreal down here. It's finished, the phone number finishes with 4448. So I'm gonna look at my smart flow available to me. Here we see I have a different set of flows than what we had in our quote entity. So I'm going to do address validation. So it's what it's going to do here. It's going to generate an email with an anonymous link. And when I say anonymous, it means that link is only unique to me. And if I generate 1,000 times, there will be 1,000 different links in there. So I got an email. The end user would receive an email. Here we are. The email is also a template. This has a link, and the link here is a complex looking thing. I'm going to click on that. That's my anonymous link. Okay, this is the information that was in CRM. If there's missing information, I can make things mandatory. If I had a little asterisk, which would mean that if I don't fill in the blank, I would not be able to submit. The form could be really complex with multiple tabs, drop-down menus, date pickers, radio buttons, tables that can move around, etc. In this case, it's very simple. But if the form is very complex, very long, I can start filling it in. Oh, I'm running out of time. I can save as draft, come back to the link and resume exactly where I left off, and I would not lose the changes or the input I had put up till now. So I'm going to look at the phone number and say, aha, there's a problem here. That's not my phone number. My phone number should be 4455. And I'm not on Industrial Street. I'm on Commercial Street. Whoops, Commercial Street. Okay. So, and the rest will keep it like that. So I'm going to do a submit. That's gone. Again, whoops, this one. The flow will resume from when it left off, whatever we said for it to happen. Let me try to force it, make its own little probe and go a little faster. Here it is. So now it did it. So what happened is that what it did, this information came back. It updated CRM and created notes. So something in notes. So I'm going to close this right now. Cool. And let's do, oh, first of all, remember we had 448, we had industrial. I'm going to do a little refresh. If I can find my button, here we are. Yes, yes, this is my demo environment, is always playing. So here it updated, it's 4455. Remember we did that change. We changed from industrial to commercial. So there you are, it did an update by itself. And we said to create something in notes. So here's notes. I'm going to click this guy. Let's open up the file. We had created a little form, say, okay, fill this form in notes. It says address change on this date, the 30th of September by Anthony Mansour. Here's my previous address. Here's my new address. Kind of cool, eh? Okay. I'm going to go to another entity. I'm going to go to my contact entity. This is my last little demo. That's kind of cool. So I'm going to open myself up here. So we have some information about the person. So let's pretend we're a bank, and this is actually used for real for banks, university applications, and all kinds of other areas. Utility companies are using this also. So here's an example. We're going to pretend we're a bank, and someone outside of CRM, a customer of ours or potential customer, wants to apply for a loan. So we say, okay, great. I have some information on you on the file. So let me send you a loan application form, and let's get started. So perfect. So I'm going to go to my flows. Again, a different set of flows available to me. So I'm going to do loan application. This flow is much more complex. It's multiple steps. So it's going to take information from CRM, create an email with an anonymous link to a smart form. And now it's waiting for this external event. So the end user, the external user will receive an email with that anonymous link to a smart form. And I should be getting that in a minute. Here we are. What happened? Oh, here it is. Cool. So this is the email the user received against a template as you want it to be. It says click here. Here's that funny long link, but that's the anonymous link for that person. Unique. So here we have a more complex form. Again, multiple tabs. You can see here. We can incorporate multimedia. I can play the video if you want. It's just a video. I'm not going to do that, but it's there. But it could be a welcome to our company as a new employee. Here's some new stuff you could, forms that HR can fill out for. You can need to fill out for HR. It could be whatever you can, introduction of some sort. You can do, and it doesn't have to be there. We placed it there in this specific demo. You can do whatever you want, where you want. But we can do any kind of multimedia could be incorporated. Here's information that's already in our CRM. I can have date pickers. I can put the dates and stuff. Let me, whoops, here we are. Let's put this here. Here we have address. So how many years is this address? I can put some number here. But we have logic in here. Let's say I put 2 years. Whoop. Now all of a sudden, well, it's 2 years. Where is your previous address then? See, the form can dynamically change. And this is what group health was doing, is based on the few questions they were answering, there was logic in the background that could say, hey, the following options are available to you. Do you want it? Yes or no? And they had, all they had to do is, there were, let's say, 3 options. They could click, 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 and that was the end of it. It's really cool. So let's leave that at 5. for fun. I'm not going to change anything here. I think that's good enough. Financial information. Okay, I'm going to apply for a loan. Let's buy a car, and let's buy a. I'm going to buy here $800. I can get a brand new car. How about that? All right, and I'm going to put what here. I need to put a company A. Manager, annual income 10,000, start date, pick some date here, and they will move on. So I'm gonna add another one, and that's company B, clerk, and let's put another date of some. I'm just putting random stuff here. And now, I want to change the the order. I can change things around. Etc. So I can do what I want. You can see it flipping around, and I can add as many as you want. I can keep adding and adding and so forth. That's how the form can dynamically change. So here we have also another tab where, for example, the bank might say, well, give me proof of your employment, give me whatever papers. Well, I can do attach files. I'm going to click here and I can attach whatever I want to do here, and I keep attaching as many files as I want and do. So now I'm all happy with this. If there's no more changes, I can do simply submit. And again, if it was really complicated, save as draft. All changes done will stay there. You'll know where it left off. So we did all that. We're all happy. Anyway, I'm going to do a submit now. We're all done with this stuff. Cool, that's gone. So now the flow will resume from where it left off automatically. Let me try to force it to probe faster. Again, it could be 2 weeks later, 3 months, whatever you said to do, and you can make alerts and as you wish. So, well, there it is, finally. Okay, cool. So now what it did is it took the information I gave. Everything was updated in our CRM. So if I change my name, my phone number, whatever the fancy stuff I did, that's all there. And what it did, it's generating, taking that new information, and packaging everything together with any kind of external information or documents I want to include with it. For example, if it was a car loan, they want to include some terms and conditions related to a car loan automatically, or whatever we set to configure it. And what it did is it put all that together, and now it's saying to the external user, okay, I need you to sign off on all the changes you've done. So the bank sends through Docusign in this example today all that information that was updated and put together. So here's my loan application. Here's my company A. It goes on like that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to say, yeah, I'm going to sign off on it. And we'll thank you again. Now the flow will resume again from where it left off, which in this case, update my CRM. And let me try to probe it so we don't have to wait another few seconds here. Cool. So what it did all these processes. It was sent to Docusign. The loan application came back, and we actually created something in Notes. So I'm going to close this now. Let's take a peek in the, where's my refresh button? Here we are. Okay, there's my loan application that came in, and I didn't change any data here, so whatever was there, stayed there as is. Okay, cool. I'm going to show this part here, and that really that concludes my part of the part I wanted to show you, which I think is really exciting. And there's a lot of applications for it. We have one foundation called Barnabas Foundation. They do fundraising with churches. Of course, during COVID, no one was going to churches, so their fundraising level went down to literally almost zero. And Barnabas Foundation started using smart forms to reach out to people. And because of that, their fundraising level not only maintained itself, it actually went up. So there's all kinds of really cool examples how this is used. Is there any questions perhaps at this point we can ask or we can answer? Not yet. Okay, cool. What I suggest perhaps, there's a few options for next step. If you want a full deep dive technical demo and see how that works, the templates are done in Microsoft Word. We have an add-on ribbon within Word that lets you do the multiple languages, all the fancy conditions, which is all wizard driven, very, very simple to do. And how you create the flows, how do you connect to SharePoints, what do you want to do? You want to create tasks, you want to create PDF files, what do you want to do? Again, that's all blocks, building blocks, literally like Lego, and it's all wizard driven. So again, you don't need any kind of programming skills to make it work. It's very, 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 very straightforward. But that in the demo, you'd see behind the scenes if you like. If you like a 30-day test drive, that's also a possibility. There's no cost for that. And if you want access to any kind of training videos or just videos in general, again, that's all possibility. Just contact Innovia directly and they'll arrange any of those things for you. Angie?
Thank you, Anthony. Yes, we do have a couple questions that we'd like to get addressed. The first one is, are there any are there any entities or fields in D365 Salesforce that Xpertdoc does not support?
No, we can work with multiple entities and with all information. So, and again, we can even work with external data and force a relation between a record or information within CRM to information, let's say that's on SharePoint. So we can make a pseudo relation between two types of data like that. So no, that's not an issue whatsoever. We can work not only in one entity, but multiple entities simultaneously.
Okay, thank you. And then do you need to have coding skills to work in ExpertDoc?
Like I keep saying, if I can do it, literally anyone can do this. The only hard part is to use Microsoft Word, but I think everyone has some kind of basic skills on Word. So all the functionalities of Word are there to create templates. And also we have an add-on ribbon that we add in Word for the administrator who's going to create templates. And that gives you all the nice, cool functionalities and what you'd think would be the hard stuff is actually really, really simple, conditions, etc. And so no, the answer is no, including the flows. Again, it's all wizards that you can make yourself, very simple to use. Often if you have already templates that you're using, you maybe already have a Word document. Well, that's cool. That's easy to take that and map that to your Dynamics and to whatever data you have that's elsewhere. So it's easy to do a mapping to your existing template to make it work as part of your smart flows of ExpertDoc.
Okay, thank you. And do we have to build every template from scratch?
No, you don't have to. Yeah, again, if you have already something, a lot of times when they're doing a manual process, when a customer is doing a manual process, they already have some kind of a template format that they want to follow, and it's often in Word anyway. So if you already have that, easy, just take that and repurpose that to do other languages, to map it to your CRM for the smart flows to function. And that's very, very simple. Yeah.
Okay. And last question is, approximately how long does this solution take to implement?
On our website, we even have samples you can download immediate. So if you have no templates, no nothing, you can download a template with a flow that's right there. You can start using it immediately. But literally out of the box, this is usable. It takes 2-3 minutes to set up, to configure it if you want. At that point, then you can create a template either from scratch using Microsoft Word and you add the flow, and that just, it's literally a matter of minutes. Now, if you want something really, really fancy outputs, of course that takes a little longer, but even then you can start using this literally out of the box. So it doesn't take days or hours to set up. literally down to a few minutes, you can get something going. And I think certainly within 20 minutes, you'll be up and running big time with that. Yeah, pretty cool.
Okay. Thank you for those responses, Anthony. Appreciate that.
Okay. So if there's if everyone wants a demo, if you want even a test drive, try it out yourself, no cost, not an issue, contact Novia. Again, Angie and her team, they'll be glad to get you started immediately.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Anthony, for the presentation today, and for everyone on our webinar, or if you're watching on demand, we thank you for taking the time out to join us. And to let you know, we do have more webinars coming up. Next Tuesday, we have one of our partners, EasyStock, presenting on how to manage inventory availability during shortages. So check out our website for more of our upcoming events, and that's inovia.com/events. And we do have new training workshops for you and your team members to attend. Visit our training workshop page at inovia.com/workshops for more information and to register for the training workshop that fits your role.
And I think you'll be at the summit, a community summit, yes, in a couple of weeks?
Yes, that was my next point.
Okay.
Join us as well as ExpertDoc, ExpertLogic. They will have booths, so stop by and visit the Inovia team and Anthony's teams to strike up a conversation.
Very good.
And then we also have our Inovia Conversation podcast that our hosts, Steve Waltz and Jeff Pergolski, have provided to us. And you can find out about all the different podcasts to listen to on our podcast page, and that's inovia.com/podcast. So you can browse the podcast selection and subscribe so you'll get notified when those new episodes air. All right. Well, we thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you soon on another Inovia webinar. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Anthony.
Bye-bye.